My name is Paul Barron. I'm the broker of record from Century 21 Leading Edge, and I want to welcome you to our 10th podcast.
Wow, number 10.
Yeah.
Welcome everyone. I'm Tassos Giannakakis. I'm one of the partners at Century 21 Leading Edge. And welcome. Thanks for joining us on our podcast again.
Hello again, everyone. Anthony Bungaro, broker and partner at Century 21 Leading Edge, and we're here to have some fun as well.
Very good. So we'll start off by saying that we apologize that we did not get out to you guys in January. We did miss last month. There's lots going on. So we want to do a little bit of a recap of 2019. What's been happening and what do we predict is going to happen in 2019? Taz, why don't you start us off?
Sure. So I think that the weather hasn't helped us because I think since January, Toronto has been icy cold and lots of snow, and that's never a plus, I think, with real estate. A lot of people kind of hold back. I think the market started off a little bit slow, but it seems to be picking up, and hopefully the weather clears up a little bit in the next few weeks, and that helps us propel to a busier time.
Yeah,
that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, no doubt. And you're absolutely correct. People are so addicted to the weather and how it affects them. And if you get all those major snowstorms and ice storms, you know, because you see there was quite a few appointments set up in the system and then cancellation. So it does put a bit of a damper on it. And but I think as the listings pick up, and that's what the hopeful thing is, you'll also see a lot more sales activity, because for what we have, the sales have been really starting to kick in and pick up. So I feel that momentum as we're just at the beginning of March, but
definitely we need more product. I agree with you on that.
So that's the goal.
Yeah. So we will look at the actual numbers for January and February, or at least February, but I think that it's also good to point out that in the real estate market, we always used to look at April, May as being spring market. And I think that every year that has sort of moved earlier and earlier. And it really baffles me that when everybody is out there bidding on real estate, multiple offers, buy, we need to buy real estate. So everybody is out there doing that. And when the absolute best time to do things is really at the opposite time of the rest of the masses, okay? So right now, I'm in the market to buy real estate. And I'm in the market to buy real estate because I don't have to line up as one of 9 offers.
Yeah.
I don't have to go in with a firm offer, because I can put a condition on inspection, a condition on financing. I can be sure that the property is right, that everything checks out before I go ahead. Yep. And, so I think that this is a wonderful time. And a lot of times, real estate agents, it's always a good time to buy. I don't think it's always a good time to buy, but I do think it's always a good time to buy smart. So if you are looking at what's happening in the market, looking at where are values, because certainly big challenge in the market is that the values were considerably higher in 2017, and still people haven't adjusted. If someone sold for $1.2 million, I need $1.2 million. If my place is worth $1.1 million now, it doesn't matter. I want $1.2 million.
And my house is better.
Well,
that's always the issue.
Yeah, sure, that's always the issue. But I think that if we're realistic about values, then it's always a good time to buy.
And that's precisely what I see is selling, Paul. It's funny you would say that, because the listings that are coming out, the ones that are priced right, so, and I would say that's, realtors that are have the ability to persuade or convince their clients that, look, the price isn't what it was in 2017. This is the realistic price, and that's what's selling. And the ones that are stuck on the 2017 prices are the ones that are sitting on the market, right? So definitely, it's a great time to buy. You need to find the people that are realistic on their selling, right? On their selling price, and they do exist, right? I still believe that the vast majority of people are not buying and selling based on the market is up or the market is down. They're buying and selling based on their family or life situation, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
so that's what drives the market.
Yes.
People, oh, the market is down. Well, okay, but if I'm getting married and my
Yes.
parents are kicking me out of my house, I have to live somewhere.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if the price is up or
Is
down.
that what parents do? They kick them out of the house?
Yes, of course. Oh, European parents. As soon as you're married,
okay,
get out.
You gotta get out.
The
okay.
unfortunate thing is they don't do that till they're 30, 35, 36.
Yes,
That's right.
yes.
They're
It's not like in the old days, right?
Getting
But
that out.
I stick to what you say, that, and this is my analogy, there's always a reason to buy.
Of course.
There's always a reason to sell. If you want to go on the seller side of the equation, the house is too small, the house is too big, I can't afford it, I've lost my job, I'm transferred, those neighbors tick me off, I got to get out of here.
Yeah.
Whatever. So there's always, they split up. They're not good reasons, but there's variable reasons why people are required to sell.
Yeah.
From the buyer's standpoint, it's the same kind of thing. Now, in many instances, the buyers are people that are selling because of those, downsizing, wanting bigger, wanting smaller, but you're getting a lot of first-time buyers,
Yeah.
a lot of younger generation coming in and buying. So there's always a reason to buy. But the point is well taken, Paul. If we're going to put in a plug of the way it is, now is a great time to buy.
Yeah.
Because did you think it was great 18 months ago or a year ago? Hurry up, put in an offer. Let's see if we go 50 or 100,000 over, we'll throw in our bid. That's not a good thing. But today you have a chance to draft the agreement, protect yourself, make the inspection. Everything you said is 100% true. What a great time to buy.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And I guess the other factor that I've talked to a number of agents about is if you can pass the stress test, which is part of the reason government intervention is a big part of why the market slowed. But if you can pass that stress test, then this is the time to buy.
Yep.
Because if you qualify with that stress test, you are not going to have to compete against the various other people that'll be out in the market when they roll that kind of stuff back.
Yep.
And I'll give in a few minutes, I'll give some of the TREB stats and a bunch of the headlines in terms of what's happening with stress tests, what people are calling for. But before I do that, let me introduce
the
our
wine,
wines tonight.
yes.
So tonight we are doing a tasting of Chianti Classico, which is the Sangiovese grape. It's an Italian wine. All three wines are Chiantis. And what we're doing is, again, I've brought a huge range in price, and I'm taking my newly sophisticated wine experts to see if they can figure out which is the expensive wine or which is the best tasting wine, and is the best tasting wine the most expensive wine, and to look at that. So that's what we're doing. So we already poured these wines, and the first one that we've got in our glass is the Pretesi from La Corso, and this wine is tasting quite nice. I poured the second wine, and the second wine is a sort of, how do you say that, the Italian in me?
Okay, oh mamma mia, Vignamaggio.
Vignamaggio.
Yep.
Okay, so I don't think Anthony did much better as the Italian guy. But, okay, now we're getting it. Okay, very good. So I poured this second wine before we started the podcast, and this wine stinks. Okay, it actually smells like barnyard. So are you guys' glasses empty, or are you ready to? I want you to try this one. So come in here, and
It does smell.
oh yeah, it is disgusting. So
My
have some
description was it smelled like dirt. So
Right?
that's earthy, no?
yeah, earthy, but a Barolo from Italy could sound or could smell earthy, but a Chianti is not supposed to smell earthy. So what we want to do with this wine, so just have a smell of that.
Yep.
So it smells basically like barnyard. Right? Now, what we hope when we're tasting a wine that smells like barnyard, we don't want to immediately say it's no good, right? because we really hope with a wine that smells like barnyard that the taste doesn't follow the nose, right? That's what we're hoping for. So try it and tell me if it tastes the way it smells. Gentlemen, your thoughts?
It tastes considerably better than it smells.
It does.
My
It
opinion.
tastes considerably better than it smells. And, you know, I think that it is absolutely a drinkable wine.
Yeah.
And it could be that that's the way that wine is, right? You would really only know if you had another year, another bottle. I think this one is it's a 2007, right? But it's drinkable, but might be just something
Hold your
not
nose.
quite
Hold
with
your
it.
nose while you're drinking.
Oh yeah, hold your nose while you're drinking. I don't know if that's the right thing to
Unless
do.
they left an
So-
old sock in the barrel.
Yeah, it really
No,
it smells like barnyard. So sometimes wine doesn't smell so good, but hopefully it tastes better than it smells. So we'll wait until we have tried all three before we discuss which one we like best. Now,
Excellent.
I am very concerned if you guys choose the one that smells like barnyard as your favorite wine, but hey, it's okay. It could be. It actually, that sip is kind of finishing long, right? Is it not finishing long?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely the taste doesn't match the smell.
So let's move into some Treb stats, just
All right.
looking at what happened in the market. And I'm going to give you guys the skinny on this. So this is just the release of the February numbers. So on the Toronto Real Estate Board, they reported 5,025 homes sold in February 2019. And that is down 2.4% from a year-over-year basis. Sales were also compared to 2019. They also compared to January 2019. So similar
amount of
numbers. The other thing that they talk about in here is that the stress test is having a huge impact on people's attitude towards buying real estate. So when you look at, what is the feeling of people? What do these tests do? So
Yeah.
really, when you change rules, right, it doesn't make the values worth less, but if people are concerned or think that there's going to
That-
be
that
an
is a good-
effect on
Or
it,
resistant.
then they sort of step back, right? So a couple of things that are being looked at to try to ease the pressure of this stress test. So one of the things is that there's been some lobbying to bring back the 30-year amortization for mortgages. And it's interesting because I don't know what the dates are, but we had maximum was 25 years, and then quite a number of years ago, they put it up to 30 and even
35.
35.
It was 40. It was 40.
It was 40,
Yes,
right?
It was 40.
And then they, in their wisdom, thought that's a bad idea. And what's interesting is that, the truth is, when you look at a 40-year mortgage, right, the longer the amortization on the mortgage, the lower the amount of principal that you pay off on a mortgage. So you have a 40-year am, you're paying a mortgage for 10 years, and you're really only
Nothing's
paying
paid.
interest,
That's true.
right? So it really limits your ability to get a mortgage paid off. But in some countries, mortgages are generational.
Yep.
So we have to have your parents take out a mortgage, and it's a big amortization,
Yep.
and then you take over that mortgage and you finish paying it off when values are higher. So that's one thing that they're looking at doing. And then I just wanted to point out a few of the headlines in the news this week, in the beginning of March. And we basically have the Toronto Real Estate Board calling on Ottawa to reconsider its mortgage stress test. We have another article out where it says that realtors plead for looser mortgages on Toronto as Toronto sales drop again. So it's interesting that, and another article says, are current mortgage rules too strict? No. Other headlines out there are the board is looking for looser mortgage rules as monthly sales drop again. Yeah, so all kinds of different articles that are looking at this. Now, what's also interesting is that even though the sales volume has dropped, the average price is up 1.6% in February.
Yep.
Right? So when we look at the dynamics of the market, right? If we have fewer listings, and just to give you an idea of the listing numbers, if I flip through my pages here, but I got to give you accurate numbers, and I can't remember all these numbers. But yeah, in 2019, we have annual MLS listings are 19,285, and that's new listings in the year. And in 2018, they were similar at 19,034. I guess the biggest difference was that in February, the listings were down to about 9,000 new listings from just over 10,000 last year in February. So what happens is that when we have listing volumes down,
Yep.
we tend to have prices still go up,
Yep.
right? It is a question of supply and demand. So let's talk about this listing inventory and why is it depressed? What are the agents saying? Why are they not getting more listings? What are you finding out there,
I
Pat?
think, Paul, it goes back to what I originally commented. I think what some of the agents have been commenting is, my client, I have all these listings, but my clients are waiting for the market to come back.
Right.
Right? Which is a little bit foolish, right? But waiting for the market to come back, what does that mean? So I think people are hesitant if they're being told that, hey, this is what your house is worth today, and someone's being honest with them, the realtor's being honest with them, then they're looking at that and say, well, that's much less than what I thought or what you said in 2017, so I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait till the market goes back up, because if it was at this price, then why would I sell at this price, right? So I think that is holding back some people, Paul, and I think people were also a little bit used to the fact that when the market was hopping, most realtors were suggesting to people that were doing an upgrade or moving that you have to buy first and then we'll sell your place, because they were very confident they were going to sell their house. So I think people got into that mode of, you know, I have to find a house first. So that motivation, you know, wasn't really there. Whereas now, that's a great thing to do, right? Like I think that now you can actually turn around and say, I can sell my house first, know exactly how much money I have, and go find something. That wasn't the case in 2017, right? So I think that's what's causing some hesitation in properties being on the market, but it really shouldn't be, because like I said, you definitely can sell first now and go find a house. There's plenty of inventory to choose from. Right?
So before you weigh in on that, Anthony, so from my standpoint, the biggest sort of ridiculous part of that analogy, right? Not your analogy, but people's analogy, right? Is that if the market is where your home is worth $1 million and you're going to buy for $2 million, and I'm just using round numbers so I can do the math, okay? And you are looking at the market goes up and your house goes up by 100,000, goes up 10%. So now it's worth 1.1 million. When the $2 million house goes up by 10%, it's worth $2.2 million.
No, I agree with you.
Okay?
Yeah.
So when the market comes down, as it has a little bit from 2017, and it depends on when you are calculating that from.
Of
so it
course.
is just that small sort of category where it's come down from there. But if your house came down 10% from that $1 million, it's now 900,000.
Yep.
Right? If the $2 million home came down 10%, it came down 200,000. So the idea is that your net mortgage is going to be smaller
Yep.
in this market. What the heck's wrong with you guys? Why are you not out there buying
know,
real
I
estate?
agree, I
right?
agree.
Like it's just it's wild. Now,
I agree.
there is some situations where this is not the case. So let's say that I am going to be
Downgrading,
downsizing.
yep.
Okay, so if I'm going to downsize, then maybe that analogy doesn't work. But anybody that's looking at getting into a bigger house, hey, the problem with the values being lower is that you have a smaller mortgage,
Yeah.
right? And you got a bigger house. So it really is, people just thinking, oh, the values are lower, I'll wait, right? Now, if you can buy a house now and wait to sell your house, I would do that.
Yeah.
Right? Now, I'm saying I would do that. I really wouldn't do that, okay? Because now you're carrying two houses. But really, the analogy is that when values are down, that's when you should be going out buying, right?
Definitely.
Now, the other thing when we look at inventory, right, that people are hesitant to get on the market, right? And if you can get on the market, get your home sold, you're now in the driver's seat,
Yep.
right? So it is an amazing time to do that. Now, if we wait until there's more inventory out there, right, it'll be tougher to sell. If we wait, if all this pressure from the board, from MPs, from government, and the change in government puts pressure on these policies, if we wait for them to eliminate the stress test or possibly reduce it, there is some people that are sort of lobbying to reduce it from 2% to 1%. When that happens, then people will say, oh, it's a good time to buy
That's
now,
right,
right?
that's right.
The good time to buy is now.
Right.
When those things come off, that's when the values go up.
Yeah.
So now if you bought and sold a lower priced home for a higher priced home, and then the values go up, you're the winner, right? It's just a win-win-win. I don't know why.
agree.
I think I'm going to put my house on the market.
Yeah, but
I've convinced myself.
It's very convincing. But what I read from that, Paul, and both points are well taken, but you have many different factors.
Right.
There's just the human nature, let's do the wait and see. There's a lot of other factors. But I think in the real estate, the agents that will sit down and educate their clients and take
That's
the
the
time.
key.
Yeah.
Because why is that the key? In times that are sort of bam, slam, thank you, ma'am, the way the market has that peak, you got to hurry up, fasten your seatbelt, let's get to it.
Right.
And I'm not discrediting agents or people. That was the situation, and that was the way sales were. So the key to it today is that the educated agents, the trained agents, but more importantly, we're not, I'm going to use the language. We are salespeople, but you're not pulling any wool over anybody's eyes. You have to educate the clients
What's
and
the reality
explain
of
the
today?
reality, explain the situation. So again, the average person that has to sell, wants to sell, that's great. It's all part of, what do most agents do when they approach us? I got to get more leads. I got to find people who want to sell. Okay, fine. But when you find these people, and that's what your hunger for is to get the leads, you have to educate them. And what's the next thing that we're told? What is their desire in selling? So you have to listen, find out what the requirements are, and you could do a much better job. There's no question that, and again, it sounds like a pitch here, but there's no question of what you're saying is 100% correct. This is the time to buy. But again, it doesn't mean it's a swatch for everybody.
No.
There are people that maybe it's not the right time.
Yeah.
And we're feeling these effects, right? But I'll cut it short.
take
what
your
I-
time.
well, no, but what I felt, or the calls I've been getting is, and this is almost typical this time of year, we should wait, because we're going to put our house on the market in the springtime. So again, you have to explain to the people, and this explanation is something that I've used for years, and again, it's not a sales pitch, it's the truth. Have you ever heard of supply and demand? There is demand out there. People are looking to buy, but there's a shortage of listings.
Of inventory.
Would you prefer to put your house on the market when Nancy across the street has hers, Fred at the corner lot has, and about 4 or 5 around
Fred
the
is selling?
I didn't use last names. So that's to me just part of the explanation. But you've been approached, all of us have been approached. I should wait, shouldn't I? I should wait to put on the market. I should wait till the price goes up. This, again, the answer is educate your clients.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree 100%.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so there you go, guys. You have it in a nutshell.
So let's talk about our kickoff event. So we did
Yeah.
a kickoff event on February 13th, and we had my buddy Benjamin Tall,
Yeah.
who spoke at that event. And it's interesting when we look at and Benjamin Tall is CIBC World Market Financial Advisor, right?
guy.
Yeah, very smart guy. And it's interesting that when I was speaking, maybe we should have him on the podcast, because when I was speaking at that event, everybody was talking. When he was speaking, the room was silent. I did notice that. Did you guys notice
Yeah.
that as well? That was really the only hour that the room
He
stayed
did
silent.
command the room.
He did command the room,
But
right?
Paul, if I recall, and again, we don't want, but he a couple times went out and said, "Shh,
Yeah.
stop talking."
Okay. Okay.
And
There
I'm
you
not
go.
saying that's the reason.
Maybe
but
I'll try that.
Maybe you
too.
got to do that, Paul.
I'll
Just
try
go,
that too. So what's interesting though with Ben's talk is that obviously I've listened to him talk a number of times, and his forecast keeps updating. It keeps adjusting, right? Because obviously things change,
Yep.
right? I think that the key thing though that has not changed, right, is that the fundamentals in the GTA is that we have a huge amount of immigration.
Yep.
We have a huge amount of undersupply of real estate. So if we have an undersupply of real estate, what will real estate ultimately do?
It'll go up.
It will go up.
Yep.
Right? And that fact is not changed, right? And that fact means that buying real estate, especially if you're holding, right? So if you're going to buy real estate to flip it next week, maybe this is not the right
That's right.
time. But if you are long-term on real estate, it is going to be more expensive 10 years from now than it is
definitely.
now. Now, it may get there not in a straight line, but it will get there. So the fact that we have an undersupply in the entire GTA, the fact that there is not enough land denoted or set aside for new home and development means there's a shortage of homes.
Yep.
So when we look at the financial crisis in 2008, right? We had the fact that the crazy U.S. economy went into the tank because of a lot of bad policies, that Trump is trying to reintroduce now, but that's another story. But a lot of bad policies. And what was interesting with 2008 is that Century 21 Leading Edge, we sold the same amount of homes in 2008, or more homes in 2008 than we sold in 2007. Now, the interesting thing is that during the 5 months when that financial crisis hit us, everybody held their breath. So we had about 50% of the sales for 5 months, and then we had 150% of the sales for the next 7 months. Right. And at the end of the year, we had more sales than we did the year before.
Even though it started slow.
Even though it started with 5 months of everybody holding their breath. Right. So when we look at government intervention, and I think that the government intervention is actually an amazingly good thing. So in 2017, things were getting out of hand.
Yep.
We needed to have a little slap down and a little bit of an adjustment. So I think it's fantastic that that happened, but now we've got the foreign buyer tax, we've got the mortgage stress test.
Yeah.
There's a huge, new reporting policy with Revenue Canada on people flipping condos, trying to set up systems where everybody gets caught, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of people are stepping back and waiting, right? So
And interest rates went up at the same time. I think,
yeah.
Paul, I agree with you, but I think the problem was it was too much at once. It was kind of like a triple whammy, right?
Yep.
We had what the Liberal government introduced about the fair housing, and then we had the stress test, and then we had interest rates go up. So it was kind of like 1, 2, 3 punch, right?
Yeah.
So I think it was too much, right? And that's why I think we've had a more drastic of a slowdown than what was intended by those measures, right? So.
Yeah, but even though we had a more drastic slowdown, I think it's actually fantastic. it has now made more people have the possibility of home ownership.
Of home ownership, yep.
And the other thing that's interesting when you look at real estate, right? So really with real estate, the price is irrelevant. And I know everybody negotiates the price, but the price is irrelevant because you don't have to pay cash, right? You're going to finance the property. So how much can I afford to buy has nothing to do with, or very little to do with, how much cash I have. It's what my borrowing power is.
Yeah.
How much can I pay? So when interest rates are down, we can buy more house. When interest rates are up, we can buy less house. So really that is the key component to what people can do. So, you know, we really don't need to look at what is the price, we need to look at what are the carrying costs. Now, of course, now, what did they say that with the stress test, I think the carrying costs on, I think it was a $600,000 house or something like that, the carrying costs are estimated to be $700 more a month than you actually have to have.
Wow.
Based on that 2% increase in thing. So that's what takes a lot of people out of the market.
Off to the equation,
right?
yeah.
And with that, what we're seeing is we're seeing a lot of secondary lenders get into the market,
definitely.
right? And that will start to affect things. Now, another just interesting thing that I got from Benjamin Tall's talk at our February 13th kickoff event was the discrepancy in prices for new construction condos compared to resale condos.
Yeah.
Did you guys notice the huge discrepancy there?
Yep.
So in that sort of scenario, resale condos and new construction condos stayed with a very small gap, maybe $50 a square foot, and it ranged as time went over the last 5 to 8 years,
Yep.
and it was always similar, with new construction being a little bit higher. And obviously new construction, a lot of times people were buying for a future closing, so that's why it was a little bit higher, but not a huge gap. And now that gap has grown to $250 a square foot,
Yeah.
right? Which to me means that you've got to be really cautious when you're selecting new construction condos. You got to buy really smart. But when we start to analyze why are builders trying to get that much more for the new construction condos, what do you think it is, Taz?
I think they're building profit or foreseeing profit, right? Into the pricing, right? I think that's the approach they take. It's aggressive, and if you're the buyer, I guess you have to have a pretty high level of confidence that the market will continue to climb. But yeah, there's no logic in that, right? So if a condo is worth $1,200 a foot right now, and it exists, and I can buy it and move in or rent it or do whatever, how is a condo that's going to be ready in 3 years worth $1,400 a foot right now, today? It isn't, right? The assumption is that it's going to be $1,500, $1,600 in 3 years. So therefore,
They're building the condo.
you're building that increase into the price, which really isn't logical in my view, right?
But I also think that the other challenge is the high development costs.
Yes.
The high cost of land,
Yep.
right? All of these things.
It's more difficult to develop now.
Yeah.
OMB, all of that, all those changes is making it more difficult. The process is going to be longer, therefore more carrying costs for the developer, which makes sense. It has to get passed on to who? The end user, right? So, but I think, again, Paul, it goes back to the same thing. We have a limited supply of real estate in comparison to the demand here.
Right.
Right? That's what it boils down to, and I agree with you. I think immigration is going to continue to be high. I think internationally, Toronto is a destination, and it's a destination for oftentimes people that have the means to come here, right? People that are wealthy or well enough to do that they can send their children here. The universities are extremely highly regarded in Ontario, all over the world. So you have people coming from, India or China or Middle East, where they say, hey, this is a fabulous country to raise my children, to educate my children.
And it's safe.
Right? And it's safe.
Yeah.
And the conservative image that Canada has, I think, internationally, also says to people that are maybe in countries where there is more potential for turmoil, where they say, hey, my money is safe here. Why wouldn't I invest here? Even if it doesn't increase, it's safe. It's not going to disappear. The government isn't going to come in and tell me you no longer own this, right? So I think those are all a lot of big pluses internationally. And that's why I think it'll continue to grow, right? So there you go.
Yeah.
But will that not encourage resales to go up as well?
They should.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it could, right? So either resales are going to go up. Now
The sales activity
right?
and the
Yeah.
prices, but both.
But I think that the other sort of graph that we looked at, which is very relevant, is that when we look at freehold, detached homes, freehold homes, and then the condo, there used to be that decisive gap. And I don't know what the number is, but it used to be that it was clearly more for freehold. And the condo market has climbed up considerably because it was the lower price threshold and smaller square footage. It has tightened that gap. And that gap needs to remain, because if the gap gets too close, then the idea will be, I'll just buy freehold.
That's right.
So that gap has to maintain, but that has tightened. So you've got two things that can happen.
Yeah.
I think that both things will happen. The new construction costs will come down, especially if no one's willing to pay it.
Yeah.
And then the resale price will come up a little bit so that they can maintain that differential in the future, right? So, what is the mood of the realtors? Are the realtors busy? Are they out there working? Are people, depressed? Are they excited? What's going on?
Some of the above, all the above. I think right now they're starting to get a lot busier.
Right.
They're starting to actually obtain the listings.
Right.
I think we'll notice, and again, it's not just wishful thinking, but they are starting. I notice in the office, in this office in Markham, and I'm sure it's the same on average throughout the whole company. Listings are starting to come in, and then with that, when you're starting to see that there's a lot of appointments in the queue for showings, that means that agents are also very busy showing properties.
Right.
So I believe we're at that point right now. You'll notice, I would say in the next 2-3 weeks, it'll even get a lot busier.
Right.
And again, you could say, Anthony, that's just your wishful thinking. No, it's based on a couple things. It is traditional when as soon as it starts getting mild outside, everybody wakes up. But I can only say right
It
now,
was minus 13 today.
and it's going to get mild soon.
Okay.
Next week, plus
next
2.
Week. Next week is plus. Okay,
And we're
very good.
hearing, and it's good to hear, it's going
Yeah.
to be really warm. Flooding is not good, but it's going to get so warm so early, it's going to flood. But the main thing is that it's now what's happening. You ask what's the pulse now. They are bringing in the listings. And, just by today bumping into an agent in the office, he played the game on a condo down on the lake shore. There's scheduled offers only on Monday evening, and he anticipates several offers. So this is not a bad thing, maybe because it's a condo, it's such a special location, but there's people jumping. There'll be multiple offers.
Yeah.
It'll probably sell for 50 to 80,000 over the asking price. But the pulse now is the listings are coming in. They're starting to get the listings.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of showings on our existing listings.
So when that is that change, obviously, if we can convince our agents
Right.
to work really, really hard to go out and build that listing inventory, if you have a good inventory
You'll be
and the
top.
market changes,
flying.
you'll be
You'll
flying. You'll be flying
Yeah.
high.
Yeah.
So
Now's the time.
no doubt.
I think we've been preaching that. I know I've been preaching it the last couple of months at the office meetings,
Get the
that part of this is getting back to work, right? I think, again, having that sit on my hands and wait
Forget it.
is not for our industry, right? So I think that I've been preaching a lot of that, and I think hopefully some of the realtors have been listening. And I think regardless whether they've been listening to me, they're back to work.
And they're seeing it.
So what you said, Anthony, they're out there accepting the fact that this is what the market is. Maybe it takes some time for it to sink in sometimes. That hey, okay, the market is what it is. So
Better get out there and do it.
maybe sat on my hands for a while, but now it's time to get back to work.
Right.
And they're working, right? And by that, they're getting the listings and hopefully priced right, and they'll be able to take advantage of those buyers. So.
Yeah.
But like Paul said, if you could wave the magic wand, which is, we're not making a wish. What we're saying is get out as the agents, get out and get the listings, double up your listings. A lot of it will be irrelevant what we're talking about. There'll be so many sales. It could be a record-breaking year for the company, for the agents. But get the listings. There's absolutely no doubt about it.
Yep.
Don't sit and wait for the spring,
Yeah.
or could be, would be, should be. If they get them on the market now, a good listing is money in the bank.
Yeah, absolutely. And if it's priced right, it's going to have multiple offers.
That's
Yep.
What's also interesting is that when I was selling real estate, the old man stories, right? So I like to do the old man stories sometimes. So I would always take the month of January off. I would go 2 weeks skiing and then 2 weeks south. That was my regular program. And then unfortunately, I tore the anterior cruciate ligament in my knee. I had a plaster bent leg cast, and back then, a plaster bent leg cast, I had a
Weighed,
harness
yeah, it
on.
weighed a ton.
It weighed forever, so I had a harness, and I had to clip that on to the thing, and it was my right leg. So I had to put that in my car and drive with my left leg. So for the first time in 5 years as a real estate agent, I worked in January. I sold 7 houses in January. I thought nothing happened in January. And the truth is, nothing happens in January if you don't work.
That's
Yep.
Right? I
exactly
never
it.
sold any houses when I was down south or skiing.
Yep.
Right? But if you work.
Yes. I like your old man story.
Yeah, it's
like your
a
old man
good story.
story.
The other thing when you look at listings, right? So we did our final class of our Richard Robbins training program. Was class 10 today at the McNichol office. And really we weren't supposed to talk about for sale by owners, but I had somebody that was talking to me about for sale by owners, so I went over what I used to do with for sale by owners. And this was on a question in the training class. We spent a half hour on this, and then they all said, we need to have a class on this. This was amazing stuff. And what's interesting with the idea of for sale by owners is these people are all waving a flag saying, I want to sell. And I think what we were doing is we were talking about where is the quickest way to get business, right?
Yeah.
So I said to the guys, right, if you're looking for the quickest way to get business, don't get on the phone and do calls around your listing to see if anybody wants to sell. All these for sale by owners already said they want to sell. So call them. Oh, you're afraid to call them. Right?
Yeah.
What are you going to say? So we went over the scripts and all that, and I'm not going to do the unless you guys want me to. No, that's all right. No, I'm not. I'm not going to do.
What about if they hang up and yell at you?
Oh, that's fantastic. So anyway,
don't do that.
we did our for sale by owner program, half hour. The guys loved it. April 23rd is the first day of the next Richard Robbins 10-week sales training program. I, Paul Barron, facilitate that class, offering all the wisdom of the little bit of wisdom that I have to the agents in terms of what works, all these different seminars that I go to, looking at best practices. We provide all of those in these classes. So if you're looking at getting your business rocking and rolling, enroll in that class starting April 23rd. I'll expect to see a stampede of people into that program. So the other thing that I wanted to talk about is I was just down in Palm Springs at the Century 21 Chairman Circle meeting. So the Chairman Circle used to be the top 30 brokerages, and now they extended it to the top 40 brokerages in Canada. What's interesting is that when you look at the top 21 brokerages in the global Century 21, I think 7 of them are from Canada.
Yeah.
it's
So
That's
we-
mind-boggling.
Yeah,
It
it
is
is
for the whole
mind-boggling.
world.
Considering
right?
the difference in size.
Yeah, the difference in size.
And price,
And
the
the
dollar.
fact that we
Switching
the
adjust
dollar.
it to US
Yeah, we
dollar,
adjust
right?
to
It's
US
equalized to
dollars.
US dollar. So we got to do 30% more just to have the same.
Yeah.
Right? Now, what we did there is that we talked about and really had a detailed view on all of the systems that are now being offered through Century 21 Canada. And, you know, we've been a part of Century 21 for over 20 years. They've always been a great support. But for the most part, I don't think that they have had the end all to be all, the unbelievable products. I believe now that they have brought to the table some unbelievable products, right? So you guys give me some input in terms of what type of products have the agents been using? Have you guys seen people talking about them, using them? What have you guys
so
seen happening in
I
the,
think, Paul,
in the market?
the last month or so,
that one.
and during our last office meeting, I was speaking about Back at You Media, and I've sent out a bunch of information to our agents about that. And to me, that is just such a no-brainer, such an easy system to use, right? So with Back at You Media, for those of you that don't know what it is, basically they will post on your social media venues automatically and for free, right? So they do Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and soon to be Instagram. So in essence, any listing that you have that gets uploaded to the system, they will post that on all of those social media avenues. They also post some additional slides on your social media avenues, stuff like, you know, do you know what your house is worth, things like that. And then I'm sure a lot of people have seen those. So this is a system that is for free. It's provided through Century 21 Canada, obviously. It does have the option to add a budget to the postings if you wish, but you don't have to, right? So, but again, it's automated. So you can say, I want to spend $20 per listing on Facebook or on this or on the other thing. You can say, I want to spend $100 a month on across all the social medias, whatever, right? Or it gives you reminders and says, hey, you just got this new listing. Do you want to apply an advertising budget, right? So the fact that and I understand that some agents are doing a good job of posting their listings on social media, and kudos to them, but why not take that off your plate when someone's doing it for free,
Systematized.
right?
Yeah,
It's a system, right?
Systematizing to generate leads.
100%, Anthony. So to me, like the more I look at that, I'm not a guy who has listings, obviously, because I manage, but I registered for it, and through one of those posts of you know, what's the house value or whatever that went out automatically, I got a lead. So I'm not even selling real estate, and I'm getting the lead from doing nothing, just from registering on it. So to me, that's a priceless tool that is really a fantastic thing for everybody to use. Right? So
And what's interesting with that is that a lot of agents and teams are hiring. I know somebody that was paying somebody for 10 hours a week. So if you're paying
To
them
load.
$20 an hour, you're paying them $200 a week to load listing data, right? So what you should do is you set up this to automatically feed the listing data, as well as Century 21 Canada is making all kinds of additional posts to that, and then don't get rid of the girl, but have her post additional content. Have her post opinions. You know,
or work on something else on your
online
marketing.
world is all about content, right? And listing content is great, but spending $200 a week to have staff load listing content when you can take 15 minutes, set up Back at You Media, and it all gets done automatically. And just to clarify, Taz, it's not free.
It's free to the agents. I know it's not free.
No charge to you guys, right?
So we pay.
I don't know, we're paying for it
We're
every
paying
month.
for it.
Okay,
Yeah, no, I understand
So,
that.
do you
I
think we
understand
should-
that.
Do you think we should add that to their bill, or do you think we should continue to leave it as a?
No, I think we're going to continue to have it as a freebie as long as everybody starts to use it.
Yes.
should use
That's
Now,
the
what's
key, right?
interesting, so going down to Chairman's Circle, there is an office in London, Ontario, right? My good friend Vito.
Yep.
And they have 240 agents, and they have 240 agents signed up on Back At You Media. They have everything that is offered with Century 21 Canada. They have everybody in their office doing
Utilizing it.
right?
That's great.
And the value, and we got that when we used to have this alternative feature sheet, or what was it called? No, alternative feature sheet.
It was
or,
alternative feature sheet.
Yeah. And
Through Track, through the MLS.
yeah, and through CREA, through Realtor.ca.
Through the MLS, yeah.
And we told our agents about it.
And
we
nobody
had a
did it.
small percentage of people do it.
Yep.
And then I was talking to Vito, and they said, we just implement that for everybody. So we implemented that for everybody at Leading Edge. And we had, from that one thing alone, we went from about 400 visits to our website a month to 40,000, right?
Yeah.
So having the 2,500 or whatever listings on Realtor.ca
With the link.
with that link to back to our website in a monthly basis,
Was
we
massive.
average 40,000 visitors a month just from doing that.
It's amazing.
Right? So there is huge value. And I myself don't sell real estate either, but I had a relative that I had to sell their place. And so I said, well, why don't I set up Back At You Media so that I can see what happens.
Yeah.
So I spent about 20 minutes doing my profile. They say it takes 10. I'm a little slower with this stuff, so it took me 20. But for 20 minutes.
I was going to
and-
say, it only takes about 10 minutes.
it only takes 10, but it took me 20, but that's okay. So 20 minutes, and I received 23 leads from Back At You
From one
Media.
listing.
From one listing, right? And yeah, now what I have said to people is that I have a fairly decent following on social media. So if you don't have a Facebook page, you don't use Instagram, you're not using LinkedIn, that's going to be limited,
Yeah.
right? But when you have a good following, it is crazy not to do it, because that's 23. And I got one today, right? From a lead for What's My Home Worth,
Yeah.
right? So they're seeing me on Facebook and inquiring.
Yeah.
And the beauty of these leads is that this one was, they didn't complete the process. So it comes to you as a partial lead.
Yeah.
So what you have is their contact information, and you can follow up with them.
You
This is
have
a no-brainer.
reason to call somebody.
What have you seen with these new
Well,
things that
I-
agents have been using, Anthony?
I will reiterate what you just said, that Century 21 offers a lot more than you've ever seen. I'll tell you, today video is one of the most, I think, one of the, here we are talking on a video. Hello, 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 hello out there. But BombBomb
Yep.
is got a lot of uses. And we've seen agents that have picked up on it. In fact, tomorrow's our sales meeting, and I'm going to remind those who have not taken the step. You get the basic premise. I don't know, the basic stuff.
Yeah.
I don't like to see myself. You like, get over it. What happens is today it's a source of contacting the client. So if it's even as simple as you did a listing presentation and you didn't close on it because they're not quite ready, what did we normally do? Get on the email. It was such a pleasure last night to see you and to discuss the sale of your home. There's nothing wrong with that. But
Okay,
when you
sorry, I have to correct. I've seen you type. It's not like this. Okay, I've seen you. It's like this. Okay, come on.
I thought that looked good.
No, but I've seen you, right? Is it not like this?
I took grade 9 typing.
Okay, there you go.
I can do that.
Continue. Sorry, Anthony.
Trying to make me lose my train of thought. So the reality is this is what we typically do. We send our emails, our follow-up, if that's the right thing to do. I've always did the email follow-up. So you went on your listing presentation. What better than to do a video and take a shot, even if it's just with your face, looking into the camera, and thanking them and saying it was a pleasure. So that's just one very small use of it.
Yeah.
But we've been finding that agents that are using the BombBomb video have been using it in their social media and been doing it to promote their listings, and it's just something getting back that Century 21 offered to our agents, and the ones that are utilizing it, it's very important. Technology or videos is the way it is, so that just reminds me that tomorrow, that's part of all the C21 c21tech.ca.
Yeah.
You can go to c21tech.ca and it spells out, and I just want to bring it to their attention. Everyone's busy, but you should take the time to go through that and see, and I highly recommend using the BombBomb video.
Perfect. I love it.
Yep.
I love it. And there's no doubt that differentiating yourself, communicating a different way is key. So I want to also take this opportunity to announce the long anticipated wait, or no, not wait, sorry, that was the wrong word. The long anticipated release, launch of our Century 21 Canada subdomain website, which is a website for every agent on the in Century 21 in Canada that has this subdomain site that will be released on May 1st, 2019. So we're very, very close. And, you know, not to make excuses for REW, but there was a huge amount of things that were added to the mix. You know, we used to use Ragspace for our email. We switched to G Suite and using the enterprise version of Gmail for our email. We had a complete brand change, right? So there's all kinds of things that are happening, and yeah, there's a lot of bugs to be dealt with. The other thing that happens is that you know, a couple of the things that we started talking about here, and there's 6 things on this page. So all of these 6 things on this page are all integrated with our REW website. As soon as you start integrating things with your website, you get bugs. Right? So we had a report down at Chairman Circle where they had 2,300 minor bugs, 68 major bugs, of which 14 have been addressed, and da-da-da-da-da. So there's a lot of crap to work out to get this thing
Where
running
it's seamless and well.
And they're going to release it, and the reality is that when they release it, there are more things that you guys as agents are going to find. So you will be giving us information about what doesn't work perfectly, and that will be registered as a bug or a fix, and it'll get fixed. What's also neat at this event is we had some people from Google, Suchi, that was at Chairman Circle from Google, and gave us some amazing things that we can do with G Suite and how this works for us at Leading Edge. And this is an enterprise version of this that's provided to all of our agents. So we really don't need to have Office and Word and all this stuff. We're really not even going to need PowerPoint. We can use all of these Gmail devices, use the cloud storage, use Google Docs. All that stuff is available to us in that G Suite, and so is Back at You Media. In fact, that's where you register for Back at You Media, is you go down on the right side of Google, of the waffle, and you'll see Back at You Media, and that's where you go to set it up. So that leads me into Concierge, right?
Yes.
So what the heck is Concierge?
Go ahead, Taz.
Right?
Explain.
Sure. So I like to look at Concierge as, I guess, filling in the gap between the agent and management, and really getting agents down the runway as quick as possible, especially new agents. So Concierge is a system where we have all of our new realtors, whether they're new to the business or just new to our company, there's somebody appointed that's going to help streamline them. So with my office, what we usually do is right off the hop, as soon as they're hired, Concierge is setting up the original orientation meeting with them. At that point, they've gotten all of their codes and email and all of that. So the goal of meeting number one is to just make sure that, hey, okay, you can log on to this. Okay, you've logged onto your email, stressing to them all of the things that are very important, like making sure that your Century 21 email is something that you're paying attention to, or if not, having it forwarded somewhere, because that's where all your leads go, right? It's amazing how people don't realize that if someone's contacting you on your Century 21 email or website, that email is going there. So if they're saying, hey, Anthony, I want to buy this house on an email, obviously they wouldn't be calling you and sending an email, but and you're not paying attention to it, it's a disaster, right? So concierge is making sure that the realtors all understand that, hey, this is everything that we have available, and I want to make sure that you're aware of it, you're logged in, you know how to use it. They're also making sure that they can log in and look at, here's the schedule, here's our calendar, and this is when all of the training is happening.
Right.
Are they aware of the fact that Rob Vivian is classes every second Tuesday of the month? Are they registered for that, which we do automatically anyways when we're signing them up? But again, reiterating to all of the agents that these are all of the tools. Oh, you don't know how to use this? So this is a brief introduction on, let's say, for example, how to use Online Office, but here's the schedule that shows you the class that we have on how to use Online Office, the class that we have on G Suite, right? So I like to look at it as the segue into, you know, getting all of that stuff done. And I think a lot of times agents are sometimes hesitant to contact management. They are maybe embarrassed to ask a question that they think is foolish, or they feel that they don't want to bother us, and that they should never feel that. but if that's the case, I think it's much less so if they have this added layer where they can contact concierge and say, you know what, Taz told me how to do this, but I kind of forgot. Can you show me, right? Because I don't want to ask them again. So that's great, right? Because it picks up all of that slack, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's.
And we're also
Yeah.
doing that now on the Monday classes. Is we're going over that, and on the last class we had, I think that we had 21 participants that attended Vimeo, which is what we're using to broadcast our classes, and we had 21 people taking the class in their pajamas.
And thinking that was on G Suite, right?
Because, yeah, you can take your class in the pajamas when you're doing that. Time for our third wine. So I had poured that for you, but I see that
already finished half of it.
You finished half of it. Steve,
Yes.
come on in. Come on in.
The water's warm?
The water's warm. Yes, come on in. There we go. So we're going to give you the third one, and you're good.
Salud,
You're
gentlemen.
good.
Salud.
Take your time. Take your time. Take your time. So the third wine that we have is as I mentioned, it's a Chianti Classico, which is a Sangiovese grape. We went from a 2007, the Barnyard one, and this one is a 2012. So Castiello de Corsorto. And I really don't speak Italian, but that's the best I can do. Grand Salzone. Remember I asked you about what does Salzone mean?
Salzone.
Salzone. I thought that was like a cantalone. No, is that not the dessert thing? No, what's that called?
Cannoli.
Oh,
Cannoli. Yeah,
Cannoli is
okay.
the dessert, cannelloni is the pasta.
Right. Okay. So
This is
And sausage is sausage. So-
okay. So what do you guys think of salute?
Cheers.
Cheers,
Cheers,
guys.
Cheers. And everybody.
Gentlemen, cheers.
So what do you guys think of that?
Cheers.
That one.
So I'm already onto my second glass of this. So clearly I like it. I will have to say that this is my favorite of the three, Paul. I have no idea in terms of pricing or ratings, but
Well, no, this is the test. So
Yep.
I want you to tell me the grape variety in each of these wines.
oh, I don't know that.
I told you.
Sangiovese. Sangiovese.
Sangiovese. It's the same grape in all three of them. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
a test?
And it was a test, right? And
They're all Chiantis. I know that.
They're all Chiantis, and in Chianti, it's usually 100% Sangiovese. In fact, always, right? That is the grape. So you guys give me a rating on first, second, and third.
I would say the last one is my first choice. The
Yep.
first one is my second choice. and the barn one is my third
the
choice.
barn is
I'm
your
just-
third choice.
My no, I can't get over the smell, I think.
Okay, yeah, yeah. And Mr. Bungaro,
I would think the first one was my first choice.
okay?
This one that you just poured me is my, I would almost copy you, but just to be different.
Just to
This
be
is my
different,
second
okay,
choice.
yeah.
And only because of the smell of that. I think if you can get over the smell,
No, it really
It's an
doesn't
okay
taste
wine.
bad,
No, it
but you
doesn't
know,
taste-
you
it
know
doesn't
that
taste the way
the
it
fact that
smells.
we spoke about it
Like, it's a
and
very-
said that it smells like a barnyard, right? I think
you
adds to
planted
the,
a
yeah,
seed,
it planted the seed.
and I've
right?
automatically put in a
Yeah.
third. I
What
would-
does our Vendetta boys think of the wines?
Pretty much reverse order of how they were served. So my favorite was the last one. Barnyard was my
Second?
second favorite, and then the first one was my third.
Okay, perfect. And you haven't tried all three, so we'll hold judgment there. So I will give you an idea of the values of these wines and the ratings of these wines. So this first wine is $18 a bottle. It is rated 90 out of 100, Wine Spectator, and an amazing wine. And that happens to be the wine that we had at our year-end party in 2018.
That's great value. Rated 90 and it's only
Rated
$18?
90,
It's a good
$18,
taste. Great.
and an amazing wine. We actually served that at our February 13th event, and because a lot of people didn't drink wine at lunch, I had 18 bottles of that were opened and full. So we recorked them. I have completed 12 of those 18 in the time. So that's what I've been drinking, and an amazing wine.
Yeah,
I love
no,
it.
no, for
I
sure.
love it,
Easy to
right?
drink.
At that
I don't
price
know-
point, that's
I don't know
incredible.
if that means I have a drinking problem. February 13th to now, okay, maybe I shouldn't have said that out loud, right?
Other people share.
Yeah. So the second wine is a 2007, and I have had this before. So I usually buy wine in cases, and I have had this before, and the Barnyard is not part of this wine. Okay, so it is something that is a little bit off, right? Making that smell.
Yeah.
It still tastes good.
Yeah.
Right. And this is a $45 bottle of wine.
Wow.
Okay, and it has a rating of 93.
Wow.
Well,
Okay, so it is a higher rating than the first one, but without the Barnyard, you may see, that increase. Okay, and then the third one, the 2012, is a $75 bottle of wine, and that one is rated 96.
Wow.
So that is the highest rating of them. So, Steve, what that's saying with you is that you have very inexpensive taste in wine, which is actually fantastic, right? Right.
Check you out anytime.
And the truth is that when you look at wine, we're all right. Whatever we chose is right because it's our taste, right? But go back now and look at the third and the first, right? And what you see, as we talked before, is that the third wine has way more depth, way more complexity, right?
Yep.
I think is going to go, if I'm going to have a bolognese sauce with my pasta.
Yeah.
Right, you bought bolognese sauce with the pasta
Yeah,
tonight?
yeah, get the-
So I'm going to
pot's
want
on.
this. I'm going to want this third wine
Yeah.
because it has a little bit more depth to it. Now, really, I would have a Barolo with my what kind of sauce did I say?
Bolognese.
Bolognese
Bolognese.
sauce. Right. I'm going to have a Barolo, which is more earthy. But that's my favorite wine, and really, that's my second favorite wine. But I've had many of these
That are
that
good.
weren't Barnyard,
And they're
Right?
good all around. Yeah.
and they're amazing. So, enough said about the wine. But it's nice to try them,
no,
sort of
that's
look at
great.
what we
going
think,
on.
right? So the other thing that I will say with the Chairman's Circle event and the release on May 1st of REW website, it will also include a CRM, which all of our agents are going to be able to use. We have had a number of agents that have started with what is called an autonomous site, right? So this is a site that is your personal site, that is your own domain, that you can market, you can generate leads. And really what they're saying with that is that really only applies to 5% of the agents, right? So we're really saying to people, you know, get your subdomain site, work with that first, learn how to use the CRM. It's an amazing CRM. And then from there, if you're going to do lead gen, then maybe you want to look at that autonomous site. But let's not jump into it, right? So very, very, very excited about this this coming out, and that's in May.
It'll be called Core 21, not Online Office. Is that correct?
Yes, I think it's is it Core 21?
Yeah,
Is that
Core
what it's called?
21 is what's replacing
Online
Online
Office.
Yes,
Office.
yeah,
Okay.
for sure.
And that'll be integrated with the G Suite and
All the
obviously
integration.
your website and everything else.
Totally
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, and even BombBomb now is completely integrated with G Suite, so you don't even have to go into BombBomb. You
Yep.
can do everything from G Suite.
Yep.
You do it like that.
Yep, yep. And it's
Yeah.
amazing
So-
because it
so
actually
Tass is really on
Oh,
top
he's-
of
he's
this
amazing.
technology. I think he's ahead of you, Anthony.
Well,
It
I
actually
just,
shows
I just
you
saw
when
my
people are
phone
opening them.
push the Google, and it automatically opens to BombBomb.
Oh, there you go. Perfect.
yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
You got it.
He's actually one of the recruiting tools that we have with BombBomb is Prompt, and there's only 26 brokers in Canada using it, and as we found out, Tass is one of them.
Yeah.
So he's one of
I thought
26.
everybody in our management group was using it.
Yeah.
Apparently not.
I just do the
you're
one off.
There you go. There you go. So why don't we see if there's any questions from the listeners out there?
Absolutely, there is. So we've had a few since you guys have been gone for a little bit.
Okay.
One person, I'm not sure what they're currently doing, but looking at making a career change, and they were curious what is required or what they should know in order to become a real estate agent. So presumably someone who hasn't done courses is just fresh, kind of learning that information. So what would be kind of your advice in the process for those guys?
So currently, we are in the process of changing who our education provider is going to be, but that is not until next year, actually. So if someone, so it is going to change in the future, but if someone were starting right now the process, what they need to do is contact OREA, the Ontario Real Estate Association, and you can just go online, orea.on.ca is the website. And basically it's 5 courses that they have to take in order to become licensed. Then once they're licensed, there's a 2-year what they call an articling period that they have to do some additional courses in. So that's basically the best thing to do right now is go to
OREA website.
orea.on.ca, orea.on.ca, and that'll give you all the information. Most of it is offered via online, so yeah. That's where you get started.
All right, excellent. And is there anything that you guys would like to add to that? Maybe give us a call at Century 21 Leading Edge once you have your license. Or anything
And
that
of
you
course, you can contact Century 21 Leading Edge and talk to any of our managers for some more advice on how to get registered in those classes and what to do once you're registered, because we'd love to talk to you. You don't have to wait till you're done your courses. We'd love to talk to you even while you're doing the courses.
Yeah, in fact, just to add to that, a lot of times we host some career events.
Yep.
And look at bringing people in that are interested in getting into real estate, talking to them about what's involved. I think that the deadline for that change is that if you enroll by April 1st. So
Of
we're
this year.
Yeah, of this year. So
very
we're very,
close.
very close. Although George Brown is going to take over that education in 2020, I think that it starts to change as of April 1st.
getting close.
So you really want to get in there. And just a little correction, RECO is .on.ca. OREA isn't it?
OREA.com.
It's just
Or is it .com?
Yeah, REA.com or
My
.ca.
apologies. There you
But
go.
RECO is .on.ca. Well, that's okay.
Just Google it.
Yeah, Google Ontario
OREA,
Just
OREA.
Google
That's
it,
all you need
right?
to know.
And I think that a lot of times there's help with courses, and we can guide you through
Yep.
that process. It's actually interesting that they keep changing it, and there's even some conversation that when Humber takes over this, it's going to turn into a 2-year course. And we really don't know what it's going to be. So that's why if you're thinking of it,
Do it now.
Do it now.
Yeah.
You got like a couple of weeks to get registered so that you can finish before those changes
Yep,
take
yep.
place, right? Any other questions?
Yeah, one person wrote in, and presumably they've been seeing some commercials, and they're asking what is Purple Bricks, and how is there no commission on that transaction?
Since Paul is giggling, we're gonna let him answer this one. I know he's salivating at the opportunity to
Yeah.
answer this one.
So,
the
so,
fine
so
print.
it's interesting is that, you know, not to discredit anybody that is coming into the marketplace as a new concept. They have had challenges in many other markets for false and misleading advertising, right? And as we know, in life, there's nothing, there's no free lunch, right? So there really is nothing free. This is a flat rate for sale by owner type company that will do a mere posting for a flat fee, right? So it's not no commission, it's a flat fee. And then in general, the seller then pays the selling commission fee.
Right.
So it usually tends to be not 2.5%, but 3% to the selling broker plus $800 flat fee, right? So they're advertising to attract attention,
Yep.
but that's the way it is. And just to give you a little history on Purple Bricks, so they are originally an Australian company that has recently moved into California. They've opened in California. They're struggling there, bringing this new concept to California, so it hasn't done overly well. In Canada, they actually bought out ComFree.
Right.
And ComFree is a for sale by owner company. And if you remember a few years back, probably 4 or 5 years ago, the for sale by owner business really changed drastically when they got approval to post what they call a mere posting.
Yep.
MLS,
So they are posting the listing on MLS because the belief was if you're on MLS, then it just sells, right? And really that's not the case. There's a whole lot more in terms of marketing and
Service.
what real estate agents do in terms of servicing. So ComFree would post the listing on MLS, but they would then not provide any services to you as a seller. So you really were representing yourself, but you got the advantage of being on MLS, right? And Purple Bricks has bought them out in Canada, as well as in the province of Quebec. They bought out Duprier, I think is maybe, I don't know the Italian pronunciation,
French you're not doing
nor
too.
the French as well,
S'il vous plaît.
but something like that. And in Quebec, that for sale by owner company has a very high percentage, more like 20% of the market. In Ontario and the rest of Canada, ComFree is in around the 2% mark, right? So, you know, it's a different concept. You know, we're certainly open to different concepts. But what's interesting is we had in our final class with the Richard Robbins course, we were talking about the percentage of the consumers out there that shopped value as opposed to price, right? And it's funny because I always used to talk to agents about the fact that 15% of the consumers out there are really just looking at price, but 85% are just looking at value. So these are new stats, and he had 86%. What he had in his documents, which is pretty close,
Yeah.
are looking for value.
Yep.
So we really need to look at these competitors coming into the market and look at reestablishing our value proposition.
Yep.
And I think it's fantastic because it makes us work harder and work harder at showing our value proposition. So I think it's fantastic to have competition, but it is very different than using a full service real estate brokerage.
Good question.
Yep.
Any other questions out there, Steve?
There's one little off from real estate. Someone's curious what your if you have a favorite Ontario wine or winery.
An Ontario favorite winery.
Favorite
Okay.
winery or specific specific kind of wine. Yeah.
Okay. So,
VQA.
no.
You don't have a view.
So,
Short answer.
Isn't there VQA?
so VQA is a designation in Ontario for better quality wine. I'm really not an Ontario wine lover. You know, I'm not an ice wine guy. A lot of great ice wines in Ontario. What I would say though is that if you're looking at Ontario wine, the variety that I would go with is Gamay. And Gamay is a grape variety that is in Beaujolais wine from France. And Beaujolais is usually a young drinking wine, and the grape in it is Gamay. And if I was looking at an Ontario wine,
Gamay
I
Noir?
would go with Gamay Noir, with that grape variety. And I think there's some good choices out there. But I really don't have a favorite. I do buy some Ontario wines, but I'm an old world wine guy, right? Yeah.
Fair enough. And then there's one more question, but full disclosure, it may have come from one of your competitors.
Oh, no worries, no worries.
So I understand Century 21 Leading Edge is the number one Century 21 brokerage in Canada. What factors / differentiators have gone into the brokerage in order for it to have that title?
Fantastic. Who wants to take that question?
I don't think we have enough time in one podcast, right? So that sounds to me like it's saying, so what's made us number one in Canada, right?
That's it.
Sure. So yeah, I think we need a full podcast on that, or
Well,
better
but
yet,
it's qualified.
they can come in for an interview and talk to one of the managers, and they can give them a 1 hour version of everything that makes us number one,
I
right?
don't think it is qualified.
You're allowed to answer.
Well,
Go ahead.
yeah, sure.
And you're correct, and I didn't want to just go on with it, but I will say it is qualified because the numbers aren't just sort of like a lot of people go around saying, "Hey, I'm number one. I'm the number one company. Everyone, you know, agents, and there's many brokers out there. We're the best, and we're number one, and we beat everybody." And that's fine if that's what they do. But all I want to say, it's qualified. It's based on the amount of sales and the dollar volume. So that's the short answer.
Oh, is the question, are we really number one?
I think the question was more the differentiators, like
Gotcha.
what's gone into.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
That's why I didn't
Yeah,
want to get
yeah.
into that, but
So-
I want to say it's qualified.
I think that we can pick up on that and dig a little deeper in our next podcast.
Yeah.
But I'll give you a couple of examples of things that differentiate us. So I think that when you look at a real estate brokerage, you have many great systems and tools. And a lot of brokerages look at the real estate business of, we have this stuff, good luck. So they are not working with the agents and care for the agents to help them or assist them in getting to where they want to go. So all kinds of companies have great systems. They have great brands, right? We're not the only good brand out there. There's lots of great real estate companies out there. But I think that our differentiation is primarily in the fact that we really work to assist our agents in implementing the tools and things that are available in order to grow their business and to have success. And I think that that is one of the key differentiators for Century 21 Leading Edge. And I think that when you do that and you help 750 agents succeed at a high level, then you just automatically are number one, right? I think that's
and we practice what we preach, right? For sure. Right? So it's it's actually doing what you say that you're going to do and providing what you say you provide, right? So yeah.
There you go. So on that note, I think that's where we're just the best. We've been not to brag, but we've been number one firm in Canada for 8 years in a row.
Yeah.
8 years in a row. And then if we take the 1 year that we slipped on that, it's been, I think, 15 of the last 16, we've been the #1 firm in Canada. So I think that record stands for itself. And yeah, if you want to come and feel that difference, just contact one of our managers and we'll meet with you personally and
feeling.
go over the detail of how we do that.
Yeah.
So let's sign off. And I'm Paul Barron, broker of record, Century 21 Leading Edge. Thank you very much for listening, and keep your questions coming.
Excellent. I'm Tassos Giannakakis. Thank you very much for joining us and listening, and hopefully we see you on our next podcast.
Anthony Bungaro, and I enjoy the opportunity to spend some time with you. Have a good one.